PR Connections Radio presents
Good afternoon. Welcome back to Cozy Up and Pay Attention Season 2. If you're looking at my face, chances are it's 2 o'clock Pacific Standard Time, and I have another wonderful guest parent for your listening pleasure. If you would be kind enough to take a deep breath and let it out slowly, we'll be right back.
Cozy Stone is a multi-talented comedian extraordinaire who has a real lust for life. She also combines humor and motivation, where she is known as a humorvational speaker. Her youthful ways and positive light make her a beacon for those of all ages. Cozy has lived a remarkable life that has paved the way for so many. She had the longest running open mic venue of 11 years at Tommy Rockers in Vegas, called Cozy's Comedy Corner, through which she introduced many up-and-coming comedians. Before going into comedy, she was one of the first female personal trainers and one of the top fitness trainers in the world. She has trained many greats such as Billie Jean King, Roberta Flack, Andrew Young, Ed Bradley, CCH Pounder, Al Pacino, and Earl Monroe. As a former competitive bodybuilder, she also owned a bodybuilding gym for women over 40 in Los Angeles for several years. She has worked in top positions for HBO, Playboy, and Tony Robbins. She also enjoys volunteer work, dedicating time to the New York Foundling Hospital and babies with AIDS. Cozy Stone has a message that shouldn't be missed.
Please bring me my guest. No, please.
The music was great.
Um, as a person who lives alone, I do some stuff in here that's just so ridiculously funny. So I got up to shut my door, and my slipper got caught backwards.
Oh,
And I thought I was gonna fall down the steps. So I think that's it's just life. And I don't know about anyone else who lives alone, but there's stuff that happens. I'm sure it happens to people who live with others. But when you live alone and these silly things happen, I just laugh at myself. So hold on.
hmm.
Okay. I'm trying to get you out of here and I can't stop laughing. Okay. I'm sorry, Simah. Hold on. Ah, I can't believe it. I can't stop laughing. Okay. 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 Cozy. Get serious. Please welcome my wonderful guest for the day, Miss Simah Khan. Simah is one of my many wonderful pickleball persons, and it's a pleasure to have you with us today, Missy. How are you today?
I am wonderful, and I'm
Good.
glad to be here.
Well, thank you. Before we get started, I say to my audience, I want to start laughing, I gotta stop. I say to the audience that this show is, as we know, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. There are a lot of books on the shelf, but none of them probably pertain to your particular child and the DNA that came from whoever made these children. The other part of it, there's no such thing as a perfect parent. Um, we do not parent shame on the show. What we try to do is to give some life lessons, something that will help other parents who are not having as much good luck. So, one of the things that I loved about you and what you're going to share about your bio is you're going to share your love, your kindness, and your understanding from giving birth. But before we get to them, let's talk about you were married twice. So, how old were you Where were you born and raised, Simah?
I was born and raised in Westchester, New York.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. And where did you meet your first husband and how old were you both?
I met him in Westchester, New York, and I was 17, but we didn't get married then. But I met him when I was 17 and he was 18.
Okay. So you met in high school.
Not really, but
Okay.
friend's house, something like that.
All right. And did you have a planned, did you get married before you got pregnant?
Uh, no,
Okay.
I did
So,
not.
all right. So you had an unplanned pregnancy and then you
Yes,
got married.
yes.
And when you met him, and you were 17 and 18, I get that. But even when we're 13, 14, or 28, we look at a guy and they look at us. And so I love to ask, this is a girly kind of question. When you met this gentleman and looked at him, you were attracted to him, obviously. Was it his brawn, or his beauty that attracted you?
His beauty.
So he was fine, huh?
Yeah, his beauty. And he was very cultural, and that was very attractive to me.
Okay. So once you guys made a family, see, she's freezing. You're freezing. Oh,
I'm not,
okay.
I'm awake. I'm here. I'm
Oh,
good.
I thought you were freezing. Please don't close your eyes like that again. I think you're freezing. See, don't make me start laughing again.
Okay.
Um, when you found out, now when you got pregnant, how old were you?
I was 20.
Okay, all right, and still being pregnant, being 20, being with someone that you obviously loved and wanted to be with. When you were told that you were pregnant or found out, confirmed that you were pregnant, was there fear or fantasy?
Fantasy, happiness, joy. I wanted to get pregnant.
Okay, all right. So as a little girl, you aspired to be a mom.
Yeah, because for me, it was an opportunity to actually have someone to love.
Okay, all right. So you're both from New York. You're both in the same neighborhoodish, but you're from and living in different homes. So once you guys got together, married under one roof, what were some of the differences that came about once you're now trying to raise this third human being?
Um, I was more academic than he was.
Okay.
And that sometimes was a little frustrating for me because I felt like the conversations that he could render were limited, right? Because prior to that, it was great talking to him, it was fun talking to him, but now we're living together, things began to get more serious.
Mhm.
And conversation could not adapt as much as I thought it was going to.
Well, that's what happens when we're young. That's
Yeah,
part of that's part of the reason I like to do this show.
yeah,
Um, it can happen at 38, but it happens less or more at 18 or 15 to 24.
yes,
It's the infatuation. It's actually not knowing what we don't know, and that's what's called youth.
that's right.
How
That's
long did you stay married and under the same roof with this gentleman?
I want to say it was about 8 to 10 years.
Okay, wow, that's a good period of time for someone
Yeah,
that young.
yeah. We liked each other a lot, and then we had some commonalities that were fun. He was a drummer, I was a dancer, So yeah,
Okay, and then was he able? Once you guys split, did he also remain a co-parent?
No, unfortunately, he became addicted to drugs.
Ah, okay. All right. That's called reality. This show is your story. It's everybody's story. That's what I believe is the beauty of this show. When you I know you mentioned a moment ago that you didn't have a great relationship with your mom. Would it be okay if I ask you who was influential in helping you become this wonderful lady that I know today?
My siblings, actually. My siblings, and we had a nanny all the time.
Okay. Okay. So because I usually ask were there any words, and they could have been from your siblings that were passed down to you that stuck in your brain, in your psyche that you shared with your children as you were having giving birth.
Unfortunately, not because I was the youngest. So my siblings really did not want me around them
Okay.
because I did not dis- I could not discern what should be repeated and what should not be repeated. So they isolated from me. I didn't even know where they were most of the time. I don't know what they did. And if they came around me with friends, I was over eager to know their friends, which they didn't appreciate that either. And don't
You
laugh.
were you
Not
were
fun.
you were a pain in the butts younger
Yeah,
sister. No.
yeah, I was. But I didn't know it. And, being the youngest, I wanted to be a part of.
Hmm. That makes
Everything
sense.
they didn't want me to be a part of.
All right. Okay. Well, that makes sense. So just before we move forward, we're gonna rehash. Born and raised in Westchester, New York. Same with your partner. Met as early teens or late teens. Got married. Stayed together through your 20s. Had enough commonality to at least endure 10 years together and raise your child together.
Yeah,
The unfortunate aspect of him becoming a drug addict had nothing to do with you. It had
no,
nothing to do with you taking the ball, the bull by the horns, and continuing to do what you needed to do, which is raise your children. How
yeah.
old were you when you met your second husband?
Let me clarify something though. That husband was actually from the city. He moved to Westchester,
Okay, all right,
right? When he was maybe 16 or something. I don't know.
all right.
Um, and there was something else that you said. I don't remember now, but I was gonna clarify that. But anyway, so this guy that I married, that was approximately 8 years ago, actually,
Okay.
and it was quote unquote an arranged marriage per se.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was arranged. Um, and I really did not know a lot about him before we married.
Mhm.
We did a lot of Skyping. We started out with emailing, and then we had what in Islam is called a wali. So the wali is, well, the natural wali would be your father or your older brother.
Mhm.
Well, I didn't have the father, and by that time, my older brother had passed away. Well, both of them. Everybody was gone except for me. Anyway, so my wali handled the correspondence in the beginning, the coordination of everything, and this is before I actually spoke to this man.
Wow. Where was he from, Seema? I mean, was he here in the United States?
He was, um, at that time, he was in Mississippi, and I
And
was in New York.
and you were in New York.
Yes,
Right. So you finally met, you got
yes,
married,
yes.
and how long did you stay in New York before you moved to Vegas?
I went to Mississippi first,
Okay.
where he was, right?
Mhm.
And I stayed there for 2 years.
Okay. And how many children did this marriage produce?
One.
Okay. Okay. So let's get into your questions because again, I want to be respectful. You explained to me you have an engagement after this. So your first question that you chose on my list was tell me, please, three things you wish you knew before becoming a parent.
Uh, well,
Mhm.
how important it is to know your spouse or the parent that's going to parent with you. Um, in both cases, I really didn't know. One, I was too young to know what to know,
Mhm.
and then the second one, I just not had didn't have the opportunity to know him. So
Mhm.
um, yeah. So there were a lot of conflicts in the second marriage because I was so much more mature than the first. So the first one, there weren't that many conflicts in parenting because I was so young
Mhm.
that I kind of let him run the ship
Okay.
unless I really disagreed with something.
Mhm.
But if it sounded okay to me, it was okay.
Okay. The
That's
next,
eight. That's 18.
what you say?
I said that's 18.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Your next question is, in your opinion, what makes a good parent?
I think patience is very important. Tolerance is very important. Wanting to hear what your child has to say and really hear it, listen. Um, Understanding is important. Love and nurturing is invaluable.
Mhm.
And that's something that I didn't know anything about. Uh, Growing up, I knew nothing. I didn't even know that that was supposed to be going on. But yeah, I think very important. Those are very important. And laughter, being able to laugh with your children and have fun,
Mhm.
even though sometimes they get quite silly. Try to allow it and be silly with them.
Right. Right. Okay. Your next question is, explain well, as you were parenting, explain an unexpected challenge.
That addiction,
Mm.
that addiction, when that man started not coming home without notification of any kind, I didn't understand what the heck was going on. And I felt very unprepared to deal with the responsibilities by myself. I didn't mention that he already had a child when we got together.
Okay.
His child was maybe 7 months old or something when we got together. So the addiction took him out of the scenario of parenting. And here I was with children. I mean, one child would have been enough, but more than one,
Mhm.
I was scared to death.
Okay. Okay. But you survived. You figured
Yeah,
it out.
yeah, I had no choice, right? I
Right.
had no choice.
Right. That's why it's called an unexpected challenge.
Yeah,
And you survived.
yeah.
Your next question is, what are three important qualities you did possess before you became a parent? We know what you didn't have. Tell me what you had.
I had a lot of determination,
Okay.
uh, a lot of faith,
Okay.
and the will, the
I hear
will,
that.
the
Will.
will,
Okay.
the willingness to, right? Because I didn't believe that giving up on any level was an option for me. I felt like it at times, but I just didn't think that was a viable option for me
Mhm.
or my children.
Right. Right. They needed you.
They needed me. And honestly, I needed them.
Yes.
because I think had they not been in my life at that moment, I don't know what I would have become. Emotionally, I mean,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because the man I thought I just loved to death was gone.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have, and I didn't have the family structure in place.
That was my next question. Right.
Yeah, no, I didn't have the
So you
family.
didn't have either his family as well was not supportive, wasn't there for the two of you?
His family was supportive.
Okay.
His family rescued me at many times of craziness with
Okay.
that addiction. Yeah, whenever he came around and he was bonkers out of his mind,
Mm-hmm.
his family did come to my rescue.
Okay. And when you had needs of either emotional, financially, they were there, or somebody to babysit to give you a moment. They were there to give you a breather.
No, we didn't do that. We didn't do that. But I had some friends
Okay.
that I could call on, and we did that for each other.
Okay.
But I quickly embarked on school, because I had a moment of panic when I realized that this guy, and this was before the addiction really came to light,
Mm-hmm.
I realized that this guy was not so dependable. So I had a moment of panic where I said, you got to figure something out for you,
Right.
right? It's not going to be this storybook life where he's going to take care of you and your children. Figure something out. And I did.
Good.
And I went back to school and I got degreed. And once I finished school, I was able to take care of us.
Good.
But determination got me through school.
Mm-hmm.
I remember once when one of my professors, because I had to take my kids to the bus first, and the bus didn't always come on time, and la di la di da. And one of my professors, when I walked in, you know, to the hall where he was teaching, he said, "You know what? You're going to be late for your funeral." I just got my stuff out and sat down like he didn't say anything to me because, you have no idea, sir. You have no idea. And let me tell you this, my first child, well, no, my second child was actually born on the break from school.
She was
February,
she timed it right, huh?
she did. February 3rd was her birthday, and I went right back to school after when that break was over. And
Wow.
I hid her because I used to wear much longer hijab,
Mm-hmm.
right? I hid her under my hijab in the classroom.
No.
Yes, I did. And I had to go. I forgot she was there because she was very quiet when I was in class. And she often fell asleep because she was on a strapped holder on my chest, on my body.
Mm-hmm.
Forgot I had her, and I went to ask the professor a class. After the class, I went to ask him a question. He answered my question, and he said, "Wait, is that a baby under there?" I said, "No," and I left because a little foot came out from underneath.
Uh-huh.
And he never busted me. He never he acted every day like he never saw anything after that. Passing grade and completed.
Good for you. Good for you. Again, that's what this show is. It shows what it takes when you decide to have a kid and wants to see it through. Everything and anything that can be done within reason goes. That is a wonderful story. You took your baby to class and hid it under your hijab.
Every
Wow.
day.
Wow.
And she grew up to love science. I was,
Really?
yeah, that was my major there. And she grew up to love science. And that's what she did as well.
Not amazing how that can happen. How
Isn't
we
it?
can absorb. We hear it all the time, and it's very true.
Isn't it?
Wow. All right. I got to get you out of here. So, your last question, thank you for that. That was wonderful.
You're welcome.
Um, hmm, did you know your child's children, did you know their friends?
Absolutely 100% to the pain of being to the
And tell us why and the involvement you had with them.
to the extent of being a pain. They all called me Umi, which in Arabic means mother. To
Okay.
this day, they call me Umi, even though they're 6 feet, whatever.
Hmm.
And how that happened was I would invite them over to the house all the time because I was a parent that really didn't like my children spending a lot of time outside of the home at other people's homes because I felt like I don't really know them. And so they would usually come to our house. And so, yeah, I mean, we had a lot of conversations. I remember my living rooms just being full of kids,
Hmm.
but we were talking about everything, everything. And a lot of time, well, that's actually how I adopted my last two children, my two sons. They they came to the house a lot, and one day one of my daughters told me that one of the children's mother was dying. And I said, she might be sick, but I don't think she's dying. She said, oh yeah, she's dying. And I'll never forget the day I came home from work after doing 2 shifts. It must have been close to 1 o'clock in the morning. And I saw all these garbage bags in my living room. And as I locked the door, I heard feet coming down the steps behind me. I turned around and my daughter said, Umi, she died.
Oh.
And I said, who died? His mother. So where is he? He's in the back room. Is it okay if he stays the night? I was so tired. I mean, I think the appropriate thing would have been, well, who is he? Where is he? Blah, blah, blah. But I was so tired. I said, yeah, let's do that. Tomorrow, let's talk about this. He never left. He
Wow.
never. I met his father,
Right.
who was an alcoholic and ex-addict, when he and my daughter graduated from high school. The first time I had met the man.
Really? So
Yes.
somebody just let you have their child?
Nobody showed up.
How old was
Nobody.
he? How old was he at the time, Simah?
12.
Wow. So that's
12 years.
one. We got a few minutes left. Tell me about the other one before I let you go. What about the second kid?
The other one was a foster child
Okay.
who was staying at a house around the corner from me, and I was friendly with that woman. And one day he asked me if it's okay. Her name was Aunt Jean. We all called her Aunt Jean. And he said, it's okay with Aunt Jean. Can I come here to live? And I said, well, why? He said, first of all, there's too many foster kids in and out, and we're treated like foster kids, not like we're her children, and blah, blah, blah. I said, okay, give her my number, tell her to call me. I'll talk it over with her. So we talked it over, and she said, sure, but I'm not giving you any of the money for him. I said, okay, that's all right, I guess. And he stayed.
And he was how old?
He was 14.
Wow.
He was 14.
So
And both of those children are extremely successful today, both of them. And my stipulation to both of them were, you guys can stay here as long as you don't give me any headaches, because I don't do headaches here.
okay.
I'm a single parent right now. I don't do headaches. A headache means you have to go. I don't wait for the headache to go. You have to go.
Good for you.
And they got it. They really got it. That second one that came, I mean, he was almost like, he was afraid to make a noise when he wasn't supposed to.
He was grateful.
He was very grateful, and he talked a lot, so I got to know him very well.
Okay.
That was the household joke, is that he never shuts up.
So is he an attorney today?
The other one is an attorney today.
Okay. Good for you.
The other one is an attorney today, and that one is in housekeeping management.
So when
But
I have you guest on here, you're probably the closest to taking lemons and making lemonade, Seema, from your own background, not having your parents, having your siblings uh, shun you, to meeting someone young because everybody's looking for love, sometimes in all the wrong places, but it doesn't matter, right? Doesn't matter. You're looking for love. You don't know it's the wrong place until you get in there, correct? But 10 years later, you guys you stuck it out, um, because of your patience and your love. And you were young and you thought maybe he changed. And that's another thing. Women of all ages think people are going to change. They don't change.
can I
Um,
tell you, 4 rehabs? I went through 4 rehabs with him.
wow.
No, they don't change.
No, no. You know, women meet men, and in 2023, today, tomorrow, some woman's going to say to me, because I know a lot of these young ladies that are online dating, which is very entertaining to me. Um, and to still hear women say today that he has potential. No, he either has what he has or he doesn't. And I'm an optimist. I'm not being pessimistic. What you see, it's a certain age, is what you get, right? And trying to be men's mothers, women, doesn't work. Their mom and their parent, their father didn't give them what they need. You're not going to be able to. Let's get your fun question so I can be respectful of your time. All right, Missy, tell me. I can't wait to hear this answer. If you could shop free at one store for the rest of your life, what store would you choose?
Amazon. Amazon.
Oh, okay. That makes sense.
That's my everything, my go-to, my yes.
So
Amazon.
are you like the rest of us that the pandemic made us all Amazons?
It was before that.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
But you know why? Because I have a propensity to like odd things. So I had to go on Amazon.
Okay.
Odd clothing, odd apparatus.
Okay.
I had to turn to Amazon.
I was familiar with Amazon before the pandemic, but I'm not a person who likes to shop that I can't touch, feel, and smell. I need to feel it. I'm not a person who wants to, if it does, in clothes, I would never order any kind of clothes from Amazon. But the other attraction was, first of all, if you get Prime, you get free delivery. And the other one was their pickup and their take back, the refund
Amazing.
is, you can't beat it.
Amazing.
Yeah. Yeah.
Even
So,
their delivery, there are some things you can order and you get it the same day.
yes, yeah. Yeah. It says on it when you order it. If you order now, you can have this in 12 hours. Really?
And you
Because,
really can.
yeah,
You really
because we
can.
have warehouses everywhere.
Yes.
Well, again, we are at 2:33. Let's wrap up here.
Okay.
First of all, thank you for sharing of yourself, your story. Thank you for giving us three wonderful, responsible adults. Thank you for taking parenthood uh, serious, and you gave what you didn't have. That's really a big deal. Sometimes you have parents and you mimic what you were given, and sometimes you don't get it and you give what you figure out. You knew enough to be a parent. You knew enough after a while to move forward with your life and get rid of this hump on your back. You knew enough to get that education, which is very, very important. That will take each and every one of us further than we thought we would ever go. And then you found someone else, and even through email, if you will, and created another life for yourself and your kids. And after you're finished with your meniscus surgery, you will come back out and you and I will dink.
And I'm
You and
scared to death of the meniscus surgery, but I'm
No, you
doing it.
shouldn't be. No, you shouldn't be. It's everyone I know. You want to know about meniscus surgeries? Go out to the park and talk to the first 5 people you run into. Everybody in that park has had some kind of knee hip surgery. That's the God's honest truth. And I have a buddy who just had one, and we went painting on Saturday she came to the paint, and she's off her cast.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
And she
Nice.
had her surgery the week after I had mine. So you're gonna be
Okay.
okay. You're strong. You
Yeah.
it's not brain surgery.
Yeah. Thank
Okay?
God.
It's your knee. I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart for giving me and my audience your time. Dana will send you. Oh, we're gonna hold for a second. So before I leave my audience, I always like to say, folks, one of the messages from this show is when you know better, you do better. And what I'd like you to do better is to go to Amazon and to purchase Cozyisms, The Art of Paying Attention. These are my self published books. It has a lot of art, it has witticism, it's whimsical, it's witty. It will make you think, it will make you laugh. What's inside of these books. So, Amazon, Seema,
Nice.
go to Amazon,
Sure.
order my books, and we will be back, God allowing, unless God knows something I don't. We will be back with you all again next Tuesday. And I thank you for watching, and I thank you for being my guest. And I will see you all next week.
Thank you.